All right, folks, I want to tell you a story. This past week, I drove all week, and then I ended up with a $285 paycheck. Now, part of that was because the truck had to be in the shop for a couple of days. There's an issue with the truck where the cruise control cuts off, and the truck will just reset itself while I'm going down the road. So I tried to have that fixed. Plus, it needed a PM. So a couple of days, the truck was in the shop, so that impacted my earnings. But also, I sat all weekend in South Carolina with nothing going on as far as loads or anything. So I ended up with a $285 paycheck. And I'm not saying that to get any kind of sympathy or sob story or anything like that, but I'm just trying to illustrate exactly where we are in America right now. The reason I sat all weekend with no load was because the economy is broken. This is not acceptable in this economy and whatnot. This economy is not acceptable to the way we do things in America. And I've been driving for 24 years since the year 2000, and I've seen a lot. During the Bush years, everything was going pretty well until 2008. We all know about that. And money, the market went to crap. That was bad. A few years later, things started building back up. Everything was okay. 2015 came along. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. 2016 it's all right. By the end of 2017, early 2018, things were getting really good, actually. A lot of people got into the industry. A lot of people started, buying trucks and whatnot. We started seeing a lot of new people. COVID came along and derailed all that. That's not anybody's fault, but that's just the way it goes. I do believe that by now, COVID's been nothing to us for a long time now. By now, we should be seeing some economic recovery, and it's not happening. While Trump was president, we were doing pretty good. I mean, we were doing really good, actually. Things were getting really good, and manufacturing was starting to come back to the United States. We started picking up loads that were, that we hadn't seen in a long time as far as freight-wise, from American manufacturers. See, most of what we do in the trucking industry at this point is warehousing. The only things that are really manufactured here, really by and large, are the things that everybody wants to hoard for some reason: water and paper products. I don't know why you're hoarding toilet paper. All the paper products that we use here in the United States are made here. It's easy. But we have a lot of, we did start to see a lot of manufacturing coming back to the United States, and things were getting pretty good. Obviously, COVID killed all that. But when Biden became president, he canceled the Keystone Pipeline and some other things, and then the inflation was out of control. The Inflation Reduction Act didn't seem to do anything. Nothing seems to work, and canceling that Keystone Pipeline spiked the fuel prices, and for us, fuel prices are the number one cost. Like if you're in a restaurant, most of the time your restaurant, as far as the business side of it, food cost is going to be your biggest cost, and then wages after that. So it's the same here. Fuel is our number one cost, truck payment, and then maintenance, things of that nature on down the list. Then there's taxes, permits, all that stuff. But fuel cost is our biggest cost, and when the fuel goes up double what it normally would be, that's very impactful. Right now, we've got a situation. I'm sitting in Florida. I got no load. I've been sitting here since yesterday, and we've got a situation where brokers are wanting to pay less than $1 a mile for freight. Now, for those of you who aren't in the trucking industry, you think, okay, well, they might be paying 75, 80 cents a mile for freight. That sounds pretty good, but we don't keep all that. Matter of fact, it's going to cost me far more to run this truck to go down the road than $1 a mile. It's going to cost me closer to like $1.50 a mile, and that's just bare minimum. But if it's a heavy load, the heavier the load is, the worse the fuel economy is, and everything else. I've got to pay 15 cents a mile for maintenance. I've got, the fuel cost is about $4, somewhere between $3.50 and $4 a gallon. I think it's like $3.59 here right now, which is actually really low for Florida. But it's expensive. We get, these trucks get 6.5, maybe 7 miles a gallon if you're really, really, on flat ground and you're not hauling heavy loads and you're really diligent about shutting the truck off when you're not, when you're not moving. you might be able to get 7, maybe a little, maybe a little higher than that. But I mean, it's really, really terrible fuel mileage. So when you think about how much it costs us to go down the road and what we're making, it's, there's not a lot of margin there. And when the overhead costs go up so high, we're the ones that lose out. The driver who does all the work and takes all the sacrifice and has all the responsibility on their shoulders is the one who loses the money. The broker's still going to get their money. The fuel stop's going to get their money. The company gets their money. Whoever owns the truck, if you're buying it from, they're getting their money. The government's going to get their money. Everybody gets their money. The one who loses out is the one who actually operates and does all the work. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm in a situation now where I have to decide whether or not I want to drop my health insurance because I don't think I can afford it anymore. It's $400 a month. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot when your paycheck's less than $300. And that's not the first bad check I've had this month. It's been pretty rough. And I got laid off from another job last month, so I had to come over to this. I'm at a new company. I had to come over here pretty quick. So I missed out on a couple of checks last month right after Labor Day. And then, here I am this month. I'm struggling hard just to try to make ends meet, keep my head above water. I'm already in a hole and trying to dig out of a hole financially, and then have, bad weeks, back to back to back. And it's just frustrating. And I'm seeing, all the years I've been driving, it's never been this bad. I've never done great as a truck driver financially. I'm not going to be dishonest about it and say that, everything was great in the past. I've never done great as a truck driver. I've always had kind of a curse over me to where I don't make a lot of money like my friends do. I know other drivers who've had great times in this industry. I haven't, but I've never had it this bad either. This is the worst I've ever seen it, and it's not getting any better. I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. It just keeps getting worse and worse. Ever since the hurricanes and everything, it's really gone down. Like, typically after a hurricane, freight rates go through the roof because there's a lot of disaster relief stuff. That didn't happen this time. That absolutely didn't happen this time. It's crazy. There was a few loads coming out of going up and around Asheville with water loads and whatnot that were paying decent, but they slashed those rates really quick. And I don't know what the deal is with that, but it didn't happen. So we're in a situation where, you can't hardly make any money anymore. And I've cut back on so much in my life over the last year. I don't buy anything for myself. I like video games, but I haven't bought any video games. I haven't bought anything for myself. I've got a 20-year-old RV that I own that's paid for. I have a motorcycle, and I have lot rent that I got to pay at home because that's where I park my RV. And I pay for cable, internet at home. And that's it. That's all the bills I got at home. I got my internet and cell phone service out here on the road. And that's pretty much all I have. I have a couple of credit cards I have small payments on. No, nothing huge. But I'm seriously considering bankruptcy. I don't know what else to do because I'm getting to the point where I can't maintain my bills. And call me crazy, I'm one of these kind of people that wants to pay my bills and pay them on time. I don't want to be behind. I don't want people calling me, asking me when I'm going to be able to pay. And since my money is so volatile and I don't know how much I'm going to make from one week to the next, I can't tell them nothing. I can't tell them I will pay this on this date because I don't know. And this is the worst I have ever seen the economy in 24 years of driving. And the thing is that when things go bad with the economy, truck drivers see it first, because if the brokers start slashing the rates so deep, and everybody's so desperate to make a buck, they'll take the crap rate. That's just what happens. That's why the rates are so bad right now, because everybody's so desperate to make the money that they'll just take it. So that's why I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the only one that is the only one that I can see that has the wherewithal and the understanding of the economy to be able to help do something to fix it. There's no magic wand that any politician's ever going to do to be able to fix the economy overnight. But there are things that politicians do and that the government does that can wreck an economy. And there are some things that the government can do that can help bolster the economy. Those tariffs that he put in when he was president, it did hurt the economy at first, but then afterwards, that's what built it up so high to where people were making some real money. Now, they're gone. The Keystone Pipeline's gone. The fuel prices are through the roof. You know, the inflation's so bad that we're making freight rates that were reasonable 10 years ago, but we're in an economy that is like inflated twice of that amount. So, well, you know, maybe not twice, maybe like a third higher or 50% higher. But the point is, right now, a reasonable freight rate should be about $3 a mile, and what most drivers are making is about $2 a mile, if you're getting lucky enough to do that. So that's where we're at, and it's not getting any better because now they're wanting to lower it. I mean, last week everything was pretty much, you know, a little below $2 a mile. Nothing, you know, nothing spectacular. And it's like, I'm killing myself, working hard, not getting any sleep, you know, stressed out and mad, angry, and I'm just, you know, I'm just at my wit's end, man. Like, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. I'm ready to just walk the hell away from it. You know, it's like, you ever seen those movies where somebody just says to hell with it, just walks away from everything and just goes off into the woods and does it? That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at. Like, I just don't, you know, I just want to walk away. I've given up on the American dream. You know, I gave up on that a long time ago. I don't think it's possible for me. But, you know, I do want it to be possible for other people in the future, and right now I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing the American dream for anybody. There's a few lucky people out there who have good jobs and they've gotten themselves in a good position, but the rest of us are struggling. You know, we're having to decide whether or not you want to buy food or buy medicine, stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's like, when does it stop? You know, you can be everybody's worried about, you know, about abortion and trans rights and things that are serious issues, but at the same time, they're not what we need to be focused on as a people, as a whole. They're secondary issues to try, that are designed to obfuscate from what's really going on. And what's really going on is we are heading into another depression that's probably going to be worse than the Great Depression, because this country's not working anymore. We can't be a consumer economy and not a producing economy. That's what's wrong with Florida for the most part. Florida takes everything in and they don't produce a whole lot. That's why the freight rates are so bad here. But that's what's happening to the United States in general. We take a lot in from China and from Malaysia and other parts of the world, and we don't produce anything anymore because we've outsourced all that crap overseas. We're not taking, we're not making our own stuff. We're not a net exporter of things anymore. So we're taking, and that's not a sustainable economy. Eventually it will collapse on itself. And that's what's happening. All we do now is warehousing. Manufacturing is gone. The only things that are manufactured in this country are paper products and water. And for some reason, that's the only things that people want to hoard. But all the other manufacturing that we do, it's very small and specialized and whatnot, but it's not what it used to be. And I'm not saying we should go back to, making wagons and stuff like that, but I mean, we should be producing our own stuff. There's no reason for it. I mean, like our cell phones that we're using, we shouldn't be buying these from overseas. We should be producing those here in-house. For what they cost, for the electronics that are involved and what they cost, that could absolutely be done here in-house. And we don't have to worry about Chinese spyware and all this other stuff that's on the phones. But we're not doing that because a corporation can save 2 or 3% by having the stuff made in China versus having it made here. That 2 or 3% adds up to a lot when you're talking about billions. But in the reality is that it still would be better for it to be done here, and that's what Donald Trump wants to do. And that's why I support that man, because he knows the economy, he knows how to make money. Every other politician out there is either a lawyer or some sort of military veteran or whatever, but they're never typically people who have any experience in the real world and the real economy. They have no economic minds. And I'm not saying I do either. I'm not an economist, but I see what I see and I know what I know. And I know how to do math. And I know damn good and well that the freight rates that we're getting are indicative of the supply of loads versus the amount of drivers that we have on the road. We don't have enough supply for the trucks that are on the road because so many truck drivers got into it during Trump's first administration when the economy was doing really well. So that's why we're in the situation we are. But the economy doesn't have to be doing this bad, and policies from the government are making it harder for, you know, for us to grow as a people. So whatever else you got going on, if our economy does better, we all do better, and we can worry about the other things later on, the abortion, the trans thing, the, you know, DEI or any of that stuff. We can worry about that stuff later on. That's, you know, it really doesn't matter who's the president with that kind of stuff. Well, maybe it does, but either way, what we need to focus on is making money so we can all feed ourselves and pay our bills and have decent lives. Once we do that, maybe then we can worry about, you know, whether or not somebody's in the locker room that don't belong in the locker room. But that's my 2 cents. I'm voting for Trump. You should vote for Trump, because if we don't, we're all going to have a big bite of a shit sandwich in the end, economically anyway. And that's just the way I see it. If you don't like the way I see it, that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. It's just my opinion. But I still think you ought to vote for Trump. So I'll see you in the next video.